for people as Marcus did, right? And what they did with him was just grossly unfair. The court system right now is waiting to get word from them as to, how to proceed. But this man, if you need inspiration, just look to the history of Mr. Rohan James. And you can't help but be inspired by the things that he's done. You can't help but being inspired for what he stands for. And the man is still smiling. I don't know how him do it. Believe me, him still smiling. See a big smile. Bring him on there. Brother Ron James, the one that smile, the one man, that man look like him have no issues. That one that look like him.
Blessings, my brother and friend. Blessings to you, Mr. Prezi and Mr. Stu.
Well, I tell you
Blessings
what.
to your listeners.
Thank you. Well, let me clear up this thing and bring on something because I want we're supposed to be, well, here's the advertisement for him right here. Conversation about crime. It's a candid conversation about crime because this man is a crime fighter of the highest order. No, full disclosure. I I've had the opportunity and I wish that more people had it to go and sit with this man and talk about how to fight crime in Jamaica. Now, when the Minister of National Security said that Jamaica has some of the best crime fighters in the world, I have no doubt that this gentleman was on his mind. Because when you talk to this man and you listen to the way he links his experience, the theoretical part of policing and the humanistic part of policing, you can't help but think that this man should be high command level because he has a tremendous grasp of the issues affecting the JCF and also the issues affecting the public. Um, Words aren't enough for me to tell you how grateful I am that he took me in his office and sat down because I went there, and I'll be honest with you, I went there and I was of the opinion that everybody in the JCF are thief and they were criminal, starting with the highest elements all the way down. And he sat down and him said, no, 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 young man. Him said, although I'm older than him still, but him said, no, no, no. Let me explain something to you. And I walked away from that conversation feeling like I went back to school because he explained to me that, look, the JCF is a force for good. Most of the people, the overwhelming majority of the people in the JCF, they're dedicated um, public servants. They put their lives on the line. They put their lives on the line every day to serve, protect, and reassure the Jamaican people. You do have some bad apples, but you know how it go. Bad news get airplay now. Bad news get the airplay. And so, my brother, I'm extremely thankful and grateful for the times that you've sat down with me and just kind of like just change my thinking, the JCF, and about the relationship between the relationship between the JCF and the public, and the relationship between the JCF and the government, and the relationship between the JCF and the JCF. So I have a really good sense, and he caused me to change my perspective on the JCF, and I've said it since that I owe my change of perspective to this man, Rohan James. So, brother, welcome to the program. We adore you, we love you, and we are here standing shoulder to shoulder with you because we know that times are difficult. But I tell you, you would people looking at him would never know because this man always carry a big smile, and that's the way it should be. Smile your problems away, and you won't have any concerns. You go to bed at night and you can sleep well. He's doing the things that the prime minister said that we would be able to do. Sleep with your windows and your doors open. But before I do that, um, Kevin set me up with some videos here, and I want to play one of them and kind of like open up the thing for discussion. Which one is this? Yeah. Okay, let me start with this one. And the reason why I'll start with this is because I have told people time and time again that there is no crime plan that you're going to get from the government, and the government said it back in 2016. They said we have something called Plan Secure Jamaica, which is a national security plan which includes a crime plan. So don't expect a crime plan. And it's almost like people don't believe me. So I want you to hear the words coming out of our prime minister's mouth, and then after that, you should be fully convinced that what you're looking for you won't get. Here we go.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness is this evening firing back at political critics who say that his administration has failed to deliver a crime plan after 4 years in government. Mr. Holness was speaking Thursday at a meeting with the stakeholders at a working group on crime. We have more in this report from Dwayne Anderson.
Prior to forming government in 2016, Andrew Holness and the JLP promised Jamaicans a safer country. But over 4 years later, his critics say he has not delivered. A frequent complaint from the opposition PNP is what they say is the absence of a credible crime plan. On Thursday, Prime Minister Andrew Holness went on the offensive.
Where is the crime plan? Where is the crime plan? Oh, asking for a crime plan. And again, it is this very narrow focus without much deeper analysis of the issue. That Jamaica has had 20 crime plans before. What Jamaica has not had is a national security plan. And what we have done as a government is to create Plan Secure Jamaica. That includes a plan to deal with crime, a plan to equip the police, a plan to equip the JDF, a plan to build out our national intelligence architecture, a plan to secure our borders.
Plan Secure Jamaica includes states of emergency SOEs. Close to 10 police divisions have been placed under SOEs at different times over the last 2 years, leading to concerns that this security method has lost its effectiveness because the shock and awe value has diminished. But not so, says the Prime Minister. He says SOEs remain a short-term measure and they are working.
We have used force without violence in the areas where the attention is needed. And in every case, we have either put a lid on it or we have seen massive reductions. If you look at the space in St. James, there is no question about the SOEs working.
Mr. Holness reasoned that the SOEs have also helped with important changes in how the security forces deal with citizens.
What Jamaica has not realized is that it is working, that you now have a security force that after 40 years has the lowest security force killings, 86 I believe it was in 2019, and we're trying to make sure we continue on that low track. The success is not about so much, how many people are going to kill as a security force. It is how you can keep the crime rate down, keep your murder rate down, and as a force, you are not abusing people or taking their lives.
The Prime Minister was speaking Thursday afternoon prior to a discussion with a stakeholders working group on crime. That includes the National Integrity Action NIA, the political ombudsman, business leaders, and academics.
It gives an opportunity to remove from the space political grandstanding, political diversion. The government is always willing, and more than that, the government stands at your service to participate and lead any initiative that brings consensus.
Dwayne Anderson, TVJ News.
Okay, let me remove this, and I'm gonna show one more. Keep in mind what he said. He said the crime plan you're looking for, they've had 20 of them. It's not 20. It's about 7 or 8 in the last 20 years or so, I think. And now he's come up with this brilliant idea, Plan Secure Jamaica, to deal with the JDF, the JCF, border, intelligence architecture, all of these things. Colossal failure. Colossal failure. I've been tracking Plan Secure Jamaica since 2016. Colossal failure. It so much of a failure that in 2020 they come up with something called the Consensus Monitoring on Crime, CMOC. Mr. Lloyd Distant is chairing that. And if you ask him, Mr. Lloyd Distant is a very honest person. He will tell you that the most significant parts of it still a failure. The part having to do with corruption, he'll tell you that. But let's look at this. Hold on. Hold on, they help me out here, Kevin. Go the wrong way. Hold on. One second.
Wrong click.
No, I'm beginning. All right, there we go. My bad. Actually, this piece of we should have show this from early, but we never do it. But it's never too late until the lion tells this side of the story. The tale of the hunt will always glorify the hunter. We haven't roared yet. Stay tuned. All right. Here we go.
True proverb.
Here we go.
A pothole-filled road in Portland on Thursday. It's not the only rocky road facing Jamaicans at this time. Crime continues to plague the nation. 2023, though, has brought relative relief in comparison to previous years.
We see that the reported major crimes, which would be murder, shooting, robbery, assaults.
Listen to this nonsense, people. Listen to this. We call this gobbledygook. Listen to this. If you think it was bad with Plan Secure Jamaica and all of that nonsense, listen to this. Because back there, he was talking in highfalutin language. Here he's talking in everyday language. Please pay careful attention.
And rape, break-ins are all trending down. In fact, this year's figure is the lowest in 22 years.
Not true.
So crime is going down. But the perception of crime is going up.
The Prime Minister said experts have started their analysis of the violence data in Jamaica, and so far they've noted the nature of attacks are becoming more barbaric.
If you look at the statistics, you would see that of the 4,500 reported serious crimes that were committed, 1,300 were murders, 1,389 were murders, and 1,000 plus were shootings. So the percentage of violent crimes that could end in the ultimate loss of life relative to all other serious violent crimes is more. It's increasing. So there is no question that we have to do something about violence, and in particular, violent crime.
So having made large investments in the JCF and JDF's members, infrastructure and fleet, the government will now expand the reach of other areas of crime fighting, such as social services.
Somebody's going to have to sit down with mothers in communities like these to say, look, I know your mother beat you when you are growing up and you feel you are better for it. But that was back in the day without social media. That was back in the day when the entire community was your parent. Nowadays, the mental health impact of violence is such that it leads people to depression. People end up taking their lives and taking other people's lives, and people become angry and bitter, and they can't figure out why is it that I'm so angry and bitter. And it comes back to just generally how the society has.
All right. I think that's an interesting way to start. We have more videos, I want to play them videos. I can't say right off the bat because we're going to have to go leave at 8 o'clock because, DJ Kevin Stew is up. We want to go support Kevin. So Chairman Rohan James, I'm just telling you now that you're going to have to come back and visit us, sir. And let me see if there he is, Mr. Finzi himself. There he is, PI extraordinaire, a philosopher, historian, you name it, he's it. Welcome to the program, Major Robert Finzi-Smith.
Thank you, sir. Flattery will get you almost anywhere.
almost.
Restrictions on it. Welcome back, Bobby.
Yeah.
All right. What's up?
All right. So I guess you watch the two clips that I've played, but let me start with Chairman James. Give us your sense of this national security plan, where he said, resources have been deployed to the troops. Everything is great. They have a plan. They have almost everything that they need. But yet, being crimes being committed like never before. From your perspective, talk to us about the Plan Secure Jamaica plan.
Thanks again for the invitation to be here. Sufficing to say, let me make the declaration that I'm speaking in the capacity as the Rohan James, who has expertise in the field of law enforcement as a practitioner. I want to make it abundantly clear that I don't normally speak on issues of national security publicly. However, as a citizen of this country, I believe that I should crave the indulgence and to be candid about what it is that my observations are. In light of the utterances that there are resources being pumped into national security, I have no doubt that there has been resources pumped into national security more than before. However, based on the fact that national security has been defunded over a period of time, it lends itself for that which has been invested to be deemed a minuscule attempt. And I've always said that there is no quick fix, but there should be a concerted effort and a holistic approach taken to address the situation once and for all. Why do I say that? You have a Public Debt Management Act that makes provision for the interests of national security to be dealt with once and for all. And that has to be through the Minister of Finance, who makes the allocations as he deems fit, pursuant to Section 10, subsection F of that Act. I say this against the backdrop that I have always called for, when I was the chairman of the Police Federation, called for that level of investment to be made in the public's interest. And I always say that accountability is a hallmark. You can give a man so much, but if you don't seek to hold persons accountable, then you are not going to maximize the intended purpose, intended goal for which you set out. You must have demarcations, you must be, in hindsight, analytical, and you must also reflect on the benchmarks. Against this background, I believe that, yes, there has been capital injection in the organizations. However, it is not sufficient. And I believe, looking at the perspective of even the Crime Management Oversight Committee, I believe that many of the objectives that were set as targets, which is for public knowledge, some of those objectives markers were significantly missed because of the lack of willpower and those in authority who don't believe that they should be held accountable for their own failures.
All right. Well, let me bring in Major Robert Finzi-Smith. Somebody in the chat here just says a compliment. Mr. Finzi-Smith, you're looking like a very fresh-faced young man. All right, let me hear from you, and then we'll bring the panel in. Go ahead, sir. The floor is yours. Can't hear you. Cannot hear you. You're muted. Okay.
Hello?
Yes, can hear you now.
Can you hear me now? Okay.
Yes.
You don't mind if I call you Rohan? Hello?
You're muted. You're muted.
No,
Let me.
we hear. So,
You
all
hear?
right.
You hear?
No, he can't hear you. I mean, he can't. Chairman James, you're muted. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, the
I
question
don't have a
was
difficulty. Don't have a difficulty with that.
okay. All right.
Okay. Let me. I've lost part of it, but you can see me and you can hear me, yes?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes, man, I'm hearing you.
Okay. I have, unfortunately, certain sayings that I have gotten a hold of through the years, and I apply them as far as I find them applicable. There is a saying I heard in Nigeria once with no, you know, no insult meant to anyone. But the saying says, by the time a fool has learned the rules, the players have dispersed, which technically means that we are floating around this thing, reinventing the wheel, and then trying to figure out why we can't get it done.
I think we lost him there.
Bobby.
See, looks like we lost Bobby.
Oh, we lost him. All right, he'll call back.
After dropping a gem like that.
Yeah. Anyways, Chairman James is here. Fire away. No, don't fire away. Ask questions. Ask your questions.
Fire away. Okay, I think Bobby's coming back.
Oh, here he is.
Bobby, you there?
Yeah, can you hear us? Can you hear us now?
You're connected twice. Here you go. Go
Okay.
ahead. You have to start over.
All right. Like I said, one of the sayings I've learned through my time on earth is an African saying I first heard in Nigeria. It says, by the time a fool has learned the rules, the players have dispersed. Jamaica, in my humble opinion, amongst other things, has a problem where we constantly search for complex solutions to simple problems.
Mm-hmm.
There's a saying in the military, there are no bad officers, there are no bad soldiers, there are bad officers. It comes down to leadership. And leadership is best put together if you know what the objective is. The Jamaica Constabulary Force, in my humble opinion, is short on esprit de corps. They have been made not to feel good about themselves, no matter how hard they try. And they're almost used like a weapon of mass destruction against people to be said that they're doing something. Everybody tends to forget that a policeman or a policewoman has a family to go home to. And they have that uppermost in their minds that they need to finish this duty alive. Then you have, on one hand, leadership in the political sphere saying that they have been doing well because the incidents of police fatal shootings have diminished. But at the same time, on the other side of the spectrum, in the same camp, somebody says, shoot to kill. I don't quite see the balance there. You have people in the force who don't want to discharge their firearms because they can't foresee where the legal representation of the outcome of that is going to come from. So if it can help it, them don't fire at all. And criminals start to work out that these guys are hesitant to return fire. So they take advantage of that. But all of this didn't start yesterday. All of this started way back when we took a member of the military who shall remain nameless, avoid showing disrespect, and made him the head of the force. And I'm not talking about the recent holder, talking about far before him, who took away people from the road who knew criminals like the back of them hand. If you broke a car and somebody thief a radio, first say, go down, so turn us up number 5 gate. Tell Miss Icy must send her son come. Because they knew the road that well. So they took them off and sent them to a place called Neverland and replaced them with young constables fresh off the assembly line. The criminals can walk straight past, because them don't know them. So it's an unfortunate comparison, but it's like you have cockroach in your kitchen and you turn on the light and all of them run. Now it reaches a stage where you turn on the light and them look on you and say, you're not going to a supermarket. Where you take this thing from? So the disrespect for law enforcement has not only reduced their esprit de corps and how they feel about themselves, it has now made some of them very violent because they're not taking the diss anymore. Speaking of funding, you can throw a lot of money at something, but where is it being spent? What am I talking about? How many of our officers, as a matter of course, go to work and strap on them bulletproof vests? Because it's theirs and it's available and it is off. Is everybody remember here bulletproof vests and them don't realize that there are different grades of bulletproof vests? The next thing is, not every officer have a set of handcuffs. So when time comes to restrain someone, you don't have it available. So you have to do the very next best in a literally unarmed combat. How much training is done, I don't know, in handcuffing a suspect in the most efficient way and removing them from the scene of the situation so you don't start putting on a play where everybody is either audience or participant. We have the unfortunate circumstance that there are officers working way above the demands of the post who can't get their overtime, but them can't put a promissory note at the supermarket. They sometimes them do double duty because them don't want to go home and face the woman and the child who they are not being able to adequately provide for. All of this, if I am incorrect, I stand ready to be corrected by the former chairman. But it's something I have watched through 30 odd years, almost 40 odd years of interaction. A policeman is a human being also, given a job that is thankless anywhere in the world, more so in Jamaica. There is something called history, and then there is his story. Anybody has researched the genesis of the Jamaica Constabulary Force? Its origin was meant to be oppressive and repressing any thought of the plantocracy. Now, here is where I put all of you in trouble, and I apologize beforehand profusely. Jamaica is the largest remaining plantation on earth. undergoing the longest slave revolt in history. A chairman of the Police Federation whose job is to represent the rank and file chose the moment of the departure of an individual at his funeral to tell people what the situation is and what they're asking them to correct so that we don't have to bury another one under similar circumstances. And rather than going, my God, we're so sorry that we have been reticent in putting this together. These people said to him, you're rude. You know something, go and go sit down and think about what you have said. But I have yet to hear anyone say that the chairman spoke untruth. It's not like them say you have uttered things that don't go so. How dare you? You have brought the force into disrepute and it's lies. No one has yet called him a liar. They're saying that he departed from the tried and proven thin blue line where you defend folly at all cost. Let me show you what happens when you defend folly at all cost. Your promotion can hit a very rapid acceleration because you can be depended on. Don't complain publicly. Don't say nothing is wrong. Just take what you can get and keep going. You soon reach inspect. I've seen situations where chairman of the Police Federation were promoted away from the post because I'm getting too effective. Nothing has changed. How many stations have a reliable automobile? And I go further. A normal saloon car cannot effectively patrol places like above rocks or that type of places because the terrain will mean that you need to have shares in a front-end company. The vehicle can't manage and they don't want to patrol in it because they're police and carry gun. Everybody figures that them is Superman. Them don't want to get broken down in a vehicle in the middle of the night in some backwoods place they had to go and check on. And you're lucky if you do that and the phone or the radio work. Am I saying anything wrong, Mr. James?
Not at all, sir. The only thing that is omitted by you is to say that politicians should take their hands off the operations of the force and stick to policy directions.
You mean the ones that people phone getting held for a traffic ticket and are telling the officer, let him go, man, he's a good boy.
It goes beyond that.
I know, but I'm being uncharacteristically diplomatic.
I can't be diplomatic when it comes on to that when politicians are telling you it's either you are P or you are J.
It's unfortunate.
And that is why it is unfortunate that I'm still looking to see whether or not the court will allow for a decision that was taken by the court, for which I verily believe that the court orders must be complied with, since we are practitioners of enforcing the law, that an order of the court to institute and operationalize a system for which the very people who are tasked with complain to the court that the manual system is unreliable and lacks integrity. And to date, I am being made the scapegoat. I have absolutely no apology to make that those who are to be held accountable must be held accountable, because the truth is the only time society will continue to see change is when those persons who are to be held accountable become strange leaders and hold themselves accountable.
Let me bring in, hold on a second about it. Let me bring in Prezi, because I don't know if both of you know, but Prezi, a former member of the JCF, and he's been tracking some of these stories, and I just want to get his perspective on what's going on here. Prezi.
Corporal James, thank you for your service. And Bobby, as always, very outspoken and not mincing words. So I appreciate both of you and your service. As it relates to the rank and file, I have had several, maybe I could say high-level meetings with government officials and people also in the officer corps as it relates to things that we in the diaspora can do to help the constabulary. We started out with the idea of, and I'm still involved with my batchmate. We trained at Echo Village all the way up in the hills of St. Andrew, and we still keep in touch. So we wanted to provide at least coffee machines and coffee supply for every station, because I know sometimes officers on the job, they want bus of gas, they want to make a cup of coffee, and there is absolutely no way to do it. And some stations are fortunate and some stations aren't. And we came up with a lot of ideas and we pitched them. So I'm going to pitch two ideas to you, Constable James, and I want Corporal James, and I want you to tell me what am I getting wrong, and why is the government dragging their feet? The first thing we say, the diaspora can help with a lot of the little things around, like coffee machine. So they say, well, if you do that, it's going to seem as if you're buying favors because you guys are giving them something. So if you're giving them something, you're going to expect something. That was the excuse. Even though we could have formulated channels where we could give it to the right agent and the right agent to do the distribution. They said no, right? I think that would increase the quality of life and improve the quality of life of these police officers. And that was just one instance, because we had other means of supplies that we were doing. We talked to them about the fingerprint readers, about using portable fingerprint readers. So when you book up a man in a Trillon in your name, Squabber, you see the same man a Clarendon, and they call him Scatter, or they may call him Bolo. They may call him a totally different name depending on the community where he associates and the area that he is in. But his fingerprint follows him. So we say, all right, it not cost an arm and a leg to use fingerprint scanners, so police can, have it as part of their toolkit. So they go, they can run a fingerprint scanner right here on the spot. They know if the person is in the system, and it eliminates a lot of the tension within the community where you go up in a car and you scoop up a bag of money and bring them to my station to process them. And then 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and let out the youth barefoot, he never have enough clothes and just have on him shorts, kind of just out the road stand up. So you scoop him up, throw him in a truck, bring him to my station, or process him, you don't find nothing. So you say, boy, I got him here. Or you're going to reach home 2, 3 o'clock in the morning when you finish your job, or when you feel, say, okay, you met your burden of proof because there's nothing on it. So having that portable reader, you can use it to eliminate things. Now, I may be blindsided by something that you see and understand. But those two simple things, and we have a lot more ideas that we suggested. And I went personally and met with people and we demonstrated a lot of ideas, including building a mesh network, a closed network, where you can use drones to surveil an area before you even go in. And I know some of them, they're talking about it now, but we were the one that pitched that idea about training pilots to put them in armored vehicle. They can stay 2-3 miles down the road. You can send a drone, you can see them lock the gun, then you can see which direction them run. Yeah, you can see which house them running, and you can solve a lot of things. But we don't go in there. The fingerprint reader, portable fingerprint reader, is there an issue where we couldn't do something like that to reduce the amount of people that you scoop up in our truck and carry for the process? Or, you know, if the diaspora decide to give, you know, stuff, equipment like coffee machine or water cooler to police station, are we buying favors by doing that? What's your thoughts on that?
I don't believe it's buying favors, because no police officer would, if donations are made to the government of Jamaica, would know who the persons who are offering these items to the government are. And consequently, it would not place any member of the organization in any compromised position. This is being led by the policy directors, and consequently has no bearing effect on the organization called the JCF itself. So what it is that you have said, it is that persons are just blatantly disregarding the avenues for which resources can be channeled, and causing the organization to be at a limitation and the membership to bear undue hardship.
May I point out something?
What about the fingerprint reader? Before you go, Major, what about the fingerprint reader? Is there any...
That would be an essential component that every police officer would welcome, because it goes a far way in assisting us in proximity policing, because the most important and successful aspect of policing is proximity policing. And I say that any day, anytime, it has been tested and proven, because when you know your citizenry and your citizens continues to play an important role in the day-to-day policing of their communities, and they know their police officers, and they can interact, and they can also hold persons accountable, and they are not afraid to, because there's no trust deficit, then you can only improve. I will double down and to say that in 2007, there was not a salary increase, but the then commissioner made it his point of duty to implore upon every single member of the force to include the groundsmen and the ancillary staff and the administrative staff, civilian staff, to say that you are an important cog in the wheel, and you are as vital to the success of managing the business of crime and not fighting crime. We are going to be managing the business of crime. And there was a significant reduction, because you have stakeholder relationship peaking, and persons understand that, yes, you may have to go beyond the ordinary tour of duty and to have meetings, and these meetings might be extenuating, but the circumstances that defines it is that everybody was willing to put the shoulder to the wheel for the greater good of the product called brand JCF and brand security success.
Leadership comes back to leadership. Sometimes,
wait, not to cut you, Sir Finzi, when you remove the important cog in the wheel, such as the stakeholders, and you eliminate them, you cannot point your fingers and cast blame and to say that persons are not doing X or Y, because you must know the inherent damage that you would have done to the very product that you are seeking to lead to be successful. You can't tear down the house and expect it to rebuild it without any implication.
I not only agree totally, may I add. Some years ago, I was invited to a little country called Anguilla. The total population cannot fill our stadium.
Hold on one
They
second.
have a problem.
Okay, we're getting an echo from your side.
Is it any better now?
Yes.
They said they had a problem. In the space of a year, they had 5 gun incidents. 5. And they, according to them, had a crime wave. There was a backhanded compliment paid to me upon being invited to speak to their assembly and things, that they found that I would be best suited to advise them because Jamaica have so much crime. So I must be an expert on crime. I'm not sure how to take that, but I understood. I looked around and they had 3 cellular services there, all of them with their various towers and stuff. And I managed to sell them on the idea of getting space on these cellular towers because they're set up for transmission and they're high. Then you would link in to the cameras on the island and transmit to the radio cars in which laptops and things that were logged into the Wi-Fi could view. So when they had a report of something, they were looking at the scene before they arrived. I came back and I made the suggestion, and everybody, I hear you, Bobby, we look at it. So I said, okay. Whilst I was making that suggestion, I brought up another suggestion that eventually apparently morphed into what you now call Jamaica Eye. I also pointed out to them that common sense not being common, the easiest way to get a hold of someone is by checking their vehicle when it parked. So if you had the ability to lock into the tax administration and things to see if this vehicle you're looking at has insurance, has its fitness up to date, I mean, whether or not this sticker that says it's licensed belongs to it. You can not only give a ticket there, you can start building a methodology for tracking this vehicle. I asked them if the law that says 2 people can't be on a motorbike unless the rider have a rider's license. No, a lot of the killings that's going on is 2 people on a bike. 2 people on a bike must now feel under the law that they're targeted. You can't just ride up and down with hoodies and things and 2 of you on a bike and not feel that you will come under severe scrutiny from police. You can't just ride willy-nilly around the island and commit crime and take off on your bike. You must know the minute there are 2 of you on the bike, you're going to raise red flags all over the island. But I don't know why they don't have to put a new law. It's there, it's on the books. But we don't enforce anything unless it somehow suits us. Our other problem, there's so many I can't enunciate all of them. But the other problem is you are arresting someone for a breach and somebody is off to one side. Lick the boy, let him go. Put him, hold on, no, go nowhere with him. That's obstructing an officer during the course of his duty. There is a charge for it. We need to set up a training where the officer called for backup and him just take note of who was egging on the person. And you lock them up too. After a while, the people who are doing this egging on realize it's not profitable to do that. But you leave an officer out there by himself with no equipment to effectively subdue the person, and other people dying for try help take them away from him, and they say police not being effective. To me, it's like you set up the police officer to fail, and then you rejoice in enunciating the failure. But the same people who in telling him just leg of the taxi man, is police is the first person them call when somebody try to lick off them door. Suppose the police officer decided that everybody going sick this week. You know what can happen? I'm not suggesting it because I know people very touchy these days. But suppose that happens. If there's a sicko, what you going to do? We are gleefully volunteering to go to Haiti, but we can't control what we have here with limited manpower. Now, let me throw the cat amongst the pigeons. There has been an enlargement of the Jamaica Defense Force with the program of National Youth Service. I don't know the full designation of it, but I know that some of them were trained and let back into society, so to speak, without any tangible way of earning a living. You have technically created a militia. My question is, wouldn't it have been better to have this program targeted at the Jamaica Constabulary Force? So you could increase the constabulary force and allow them to do their job more effectively. Would that make sense? All the money you're spending there, spend it there.
We're not about making sense in Jamaica, Finzi. You know that. We're not about
Well, one can dream. One can dream. Let me tell you the other problem now. In order to make ends meet and their families be able to eat, a lot of members of the Jamaica Constabulary Force run taxi. So there are other members who don't stop certain breaches because they know who taxi that is.
right.
So let us look at it evenly on both sides of the coin. You want a certain level of performance, pay for it. Matter of fact, the politicians said that they were giving themselves an increase because we must pay for what we elected them to do.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So why we don't pay the police what they need to allow them to effectively do what we are asking them to do? Take some money and put laptops with Wi-Fi connectivity in all patrol cars.
That was proposed. That was proposed back in 2020, or maybe even before that, and still hasn't happened.
But where we spending the other money? Somebody called me on my yard the other day after I was on Mr. Tavares' program. A friend of mine, and she told me, Bobby, be careful. You can't criticize people. They will come for you. Okay, I hear you. Come. Because the truth might be an offense, but it's not a sin. You take a certain level of money, 25 million, I'm told, yes. You throw it at the problem and say, come tell me how it go. There's one major problem there. I am not a lawyer, but I have a little bit of qualification in the area. Hearsay is not admissible in court. So somebody coming to you and said, Constable, there's a man that lived down the road that do it, you know. Are you willing to give me a statement? Me, sir? No. You're mad. So you now know the general direction you should be looking, but it don't make sense to some degree, apart from having that information in your back pocket. Because you can't carry it go to court. And people can't seem to pick this up. Why didn't you use a portion of that money, if not all of it? Put in cameras, street lights, improve the infrastructure in terms of roads and this type of thing. That would make it what I call a hard target. You can't drive into certain areas if it's set up like that.
Well, you're right. But let me bring back in Chairman James here. Chairman James, give us. I mean, you sat there, of Federation, so you had your pulse of what was affecting rank and file members. Give us the top three things, the top three complaints that you heard from your members. And what did you do about them? I'm sure you did something. And what did the government do about the things that you related to them, the complaints you related to them?
The first issue that the members were complaining about is the fact that they were working extended hours without being remunerated properly, the lack of equipment to get the job done, and the other aspect of it is that they believe that they were not being deployed sufficiently in areas that they need to pay more attention to.
Now let's
Which they
start.
believe that they believe that they could impact not only the change needed, but to ensure that they build that rapport with the citizen.
Let's start with the third point first. Community policing. Why isn't the JCF more involved in community policing? I know you've been a proponent, active proponent of that policing method. Why is it that they haven't listened to you? I mean, have they given you a reason why they haven't listened to you?
I know that I've sat with CMAC, I have sat with the minister, I've sat with at the various policy making level, I've sat with them. And I've not been afraid or shy to bring the issues home to us. As to why it is that there is not a concerted effort to make these recommendations applicable and operational, I am not going to be covering for persons. I don't know why it is not being a concerted effort being placed in those areas. But sufficing to say, though, there are still officers committed that they would want to go into these communities and forge those relationships that is needed to be forged. Because oftentimes what manifests itself, it's not something that is an overnight situation. It is things that has been brewing. And I believe that if it is that persons adequately are supplied with the communication devices, respond to calls and missed calls as they ought to, then it is that I believe that the sort of relationship and communication that is desirous to make it effective, we can, I bet you any dollar, if the 7 recommendations that has been placed in the strategic priority area of the constabulary force, if welfare is placed at the center of it and the resources are pumped into the JCF and the stakeholders to include the political directorates who are legislators, and the legislators play their role in enacting legislation as from time to time recommended based on the operational vulnerability that has been detected and the likelihood of emergence of threat that may arise that requires the insufficiency of the current legislations to be amended and training is improved. I believe that, and the citizens' participation is honed, and I believe, I bet you the last dollar that Jamaica's issue of crime is a non-issue. It is the lack of will on the part of those who are accountable to use the citizens as scapegoat because they know what they are doing. They know that a scared society that you can cipher funds.
Well,
they know that with a scared society, they are empowered to do whatever under the auspices. We are fighting crime. We don't need to be fighting crime. We need to be managing crime and get our citizens to participate, to feel as if they are citizens. I always tell people, even if you should kill me tomorrow morning, I hold true to my motto, my anthem, and my pledge. And I bet anybody you cannot get me to sway from it. If the court makes a determination and hand down a decision or issue a warrant or an order, it is for the organizations to comply. It is not to be skirted around with, and persons must not feel a sense that they are above the law and they can breach and get away with it. Everybody should be held accountable.
All right. Let me just touch the other 2 points and then I'll bring the panel in and then we'll close. The second point, equipment. Now, under Plan Secure Jamaica, the present Minister of National Security said the government had spent or was spending more than $1 billion between fiscal year 2016 and 2023. And yet, we see time and time again examples where policemen they're without equipment. I won't even itemize the things that are missing. So you have on one hand the government saying yes, everything that they need to police this country is in place. But then you have the policemen on the other hand saying we don't have the things that are in place. Did anyone ever try to bridge that gap with the government saying one thing and your rank and file saying something else and try to explain to you how the money was being spent, given the fact that you said, hey, they did provide some equipment, but it's not enough. How was that received by your superiors?
In matter of fact, I will say that the amount of fallacies that I have been fed in the past, if I was to take it in the literal sense, maybe I would have been in the intensive care trying to be resuscitated. But sufficing to say, though, it is that we have to be true to the cause and understand that we are playing with people's lives. And as I said, when I took over the mantra of leadership then, that every life counts and we ought not to be losing so many lives when it is that we know that persons are failing to account and to give an account of themselves and to hold themselves accountable. You understand?
Right.
It cannot be that we are allowing for persons to be on a frolic of their own to the detriment of the citizenry of this country.
All right, let me stop you right there. The first point has to do with the court action. It's still pending, so I won't even ask you about that. Let me turn it over to the panel and just have them ask you one question each, and then we'll wrap up because we're kind of pressed for time. And I know that Major Finzi-Smith will be back. And I know that you will be back. Him smiling. He gave me that smile is a commitment from both gentlemen. So, Kevin, let me start with you and just run down and go from top to bottom.
All right. Greetings again. Quick question. Would where we are, the constabulary force in Jamaica right now, how long, if you were to put a timeline on it, would you say it would take to bring the force to a standard that people can feel comfortable? Because clearly there's some discomfort right now. So I want to say people, I mean both sides, the officers and the Joe public.
Can I say this to you? It only takes the will of the political directorate to accede and to listen and to do what is necessary. And I bet you the last dollar, it would not take a year or two for Jamaica to start seeing the results. In matter of fact, I will go further. When we embarked on this compensation review, it was to bridge the gap to ensure that those who were not being compensated duly, it was to bridge that gap because the distance between the top and the bottom was that far. And when I provided analytical data and trajectory and information that was of a certain nature and provided to, I must salute even the JTA president, former president, Lasagna Harrison, for standing up with me during that stage, because we were there working the maths, working the trajectory, working the insights, the foresights as to what is it that is possible, and picking up where it is that even the government was heading with their own salary package along the way. So we knew, as I would have said in February 2023, that we would not be taking the crumbs. If only my membership and the teachers stood for the value for which they deserve, we would not be where we are today. Because I can guarantee that the maths was perfectly spot on. You can't be intelligent operatives, and you cannot even pick up information for your own bread and butter. It's madness. So when you get information credible, and you must seek to maximize that information, if it's even that you don't get the 100% value for which you are seeking, you must at least achieve 75% and know how you are going to max it out to reach the 100%. So in hindsight, the officers only have themselves to blame. The teachers only have themselves to blame because they are gullible to people who are political operatives rather than welfare, well-being pushers.
Okay. All right. Mr. President.
Oh man, guys, you guys are amazing. I love the contribution. As we close, one of my concern is along the well-being of the officers, and I do believe when the Jamaica Constabulary was instituted by Britain, at the time it was a cutting-edge enterprise. It had the big station diary. It was the latest tech of the day. Now, we're talking about ISO 802 or 801 or
9001.
or 9001 certification. My question is, as it relates to digital case management, having good case management software to create efficiency and to also centralize data within the constabulary, where do you see us going with that in terms of our rollout? Because I'm in IT, and it does not take 10 years to roll out a software, not even with 40 or 50,000 people. Because once you sandbox the application, you know the application works. It's just a matter of deployment, training, and then, start, using it. A police officer with the right case management software can have information at your fingertips at all times. No, you have to call somewhere, or if somebody make an entry in a station diary or the guard room book, then how do you get that information if you're out in the field and you need that information? So I think the cutting edge technology of the guard room book, as it was implemented when the constabulary started, was good. England was doing it at the time. But everybody has moved from an analog, antiquated system, and the Jamaica Constabulary Force lags behind, dragging their feet. And to me, it's about leadership. I would like to know your opinion, Rohan, and also Major, on the implementation of good case management or technology so that police can have data at their fingertip. They can follow up with the investigation. They can know what the reports are and everything else that you can have just having a digital pane of glass, you have access to information in real time.
I'll go back to where I started before, when I said that there is a Public Debt Management Act that empowers the Minister of Finance pursuant to his powers to provide the funding thereof to ensure that the constabulary force is in a position to respond appropriately to the needs and of the citizens of this country. There is no two-way about it, that there are mechanisms that can be employed, but it cannot be done without the resources. The appropriation of a budget doesn't mean the appropriation of spending power, because sometimes it's merely reduced in figures, on paper, but it is not spent on the organization. And that's the whole truth about it. People, as I said before, I am not afraid to get into trouble for something that I believe wholeheartedly the people of Jamaica should be benefiting from their tax dollars. And the tax dollars should be put to work for them. So it cannot work, you cannot seek to grow a country, GDP, without you putting the mechanisms and the infrastructure in place and spending appropriately where it is needed to get the desired result. Nobody wants to invest in an unsecure environment. If it's a secure environment, people are going to want to move in. Hats off to the Burkina Faso, the Ibrahim Traore. Yes, for his leadership qualities, because I have seen qualities that I've never envisaged, that persons have the integrity and the commitment to speak truth to power and to say to people, this is where we are heading. This is the period of time that we are going to be doubling down on it. This is what you are required to do, your involvement, participation. And nobody wants to see their leaders nor their country fail. That's the whole truth about it. Once the leader leads by example, that level of commitment and desire that people are yearning for, people want to be able to mimic what the leader does. And that is wholeheartedly to see a leader leading from the front by example, that they can extrapolate and say, this is what I now want to become, because I've seen the leader demonstrated the highest level of capability, competence, and vision. And the vision can be bought into by all.
All right. Let me stop you there because we're running out of time. Mr. Finzi-Smith, go ahead, sir, with your question for Mr. Chairman James. Wait a minute. Hold on. You're muted. Hold on. All right, go ahead.
Let me say every time, everything that you said in response to the question, ditto. I have one more thing to just ask. Do you agree with me, sir, that
we're getting feedback?
Any better? Hello?
Yes, better.
Yeah, good now.
Do you agree with me, sir, that any constable with 5 years service of impeccable record should almost automatically, based on their desires, be afforded the opportunity to own a private firearm? We are carrying the government firearms for hours on end, high-powered weapons, but you won't give a man something to go home and protect himself.
I agree with you, sir, because if that member is not fit to be able to carry a private firearm, he are not to be fit and proper to carry the government's weapon.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
No, I am telling you, and I put it to you, that effectiveness of a police officer's behavior on duty is directly tied to his fear of repercussion on his way home.
Bobby, we're getting our feedbacks.
Better?
Yes.
I am telling you that his ability to do his job and then go home safely is tied into effectiveness. No officer coming off duty after a certain time should be consigned to public transport. Shouldn't do that.
Facts.
And we need to speak to places like National Housing Trust. That every major scheme they're putting in, a certain amount of units be given to the fire brigade, nurses, and policemen. So every scheme will be populated by these people.
Don't leave out the teacher.
And I'm sorry, the teacher.
Yeah.
And it's not rocket science. It's not. Other than that, why should I risk my life without tangible reward?
In matter of fact, I would say that as soon as you reach the 5-year service, it should be that the organization and the government is seeking to have a tangible retention mechanism, in that you seek to be able to provide a resident for every single member of the organization, which is a part of the remuneration package, as well as to ensure that that member and his family can be able to commute to and from work, and to be able to live a standard of living commensurate with a decent life of living.
All right.
I'll go further, sir. You don't have to pay my whole heap of money, but it's the perks.
Right.
It's the perks that make sure I don't want to lose the work because of the perks.
Right. I agree. But look, gentlemen, we have to stop it there. We have a hard stop at 8 o'clock. I just want to thank Major Robert Finzi-Smith, my brethren, and Rohan James, my brethren, and all the other brethren, them like Mr. Prezi, my brethren, and Kevin Stewart, my brethren, and all the guests. I want to thank all of you for making the program as worthwhile as it is, because what we've done today is that we have peeled off the layers of a lot of issues so that we can actually listen, discern, and decide ourselves. We're all about making people informed, educated around here. Now, before we go, I want to just do something. Gentlemen, bear with me. Just put something on the stage. See this? Jamaica state of emergency after 8 killed in weekend shooting. Clarendon. No, let me show you something. Here we go. That's Clarendon, right? No, this is a travel advisory, July 25th, from the U.S. government. I've said it before that if you want to know what's going on in Jamaica, anything you want to know about regarding Jamaica, go to the U.S. Embassy. You will get all the information you need there. There's a guy there, or maybe a woman, occupying the position of regional security officer. It's their job. Everything that's going on in order to protect the people and the buildings. Look at what they said about Clarendon. Look at Clarendon. I don't know if all of you can
Yes, I saw that. You know which song you must play now, sir?
Hold on, like.
Driver, don't stop at all.
This is right there. Look at Clarendon. They said, do not stop in Clarendon.
Yep.
They said passing through using the T1 and A2 highways. Right? You see that?
Yes.
Oh. So let me get back to, I think I messed up this thing, Kevin. Hold on a second. Yeah. Kevin,
you couldn't mess it up. You couldn't mess it up too much.
Bring me back to Kevin. Do something else before we go. We have 6 minutes now. Bring me back to where we were.
You have 6. I have 3.
All right.
You should be.
No, I can't see the things we had before. Below on StreamYard.
You mean what were you looking for? The presentation?
Just below there, there's something I want to show them.
Oh, it looked like you closed the presentation. That's what it is. Okay, here we go. And while we're looking for this, I just want a quick announcement. Those that tune in to my broadcast on Reggae Global Radio, there's an internet issue at the radio station, so you can just watch on the Global Base TV. I'm not sure if you've seen it come up, Will.
No.
The presentation.
No, what I wanted to do was the screen. No, not the share screen. Hold on, let me get this. Hold on.
Yeah, the presentation should be right.
All right, here we go.
But so you can watch on the Global Base TV, just go to Reggae Global Radio, same way, ReggaeGlobalRadio.com, and the TV station is there. You just watch on the TV and be a part of the Saturday Stew.
All right, here we go.
All for your information and urgent action.
This is what real leadership looks like. Take a look at this politician talking to this contractor. Can ever is the size okay, Kevin? On my side,
yeah, man. No. That is the Guyana thing you wanted.
Yeah. Here we go.
Did they reply?
No.
Did you reply to that? Well, then you want to work. It's as simple as that. So, demobilize off the site. You're not on this project anymore. We can't keep you here. Y'all do all the calculations to make sure they don't have any money for us, or pull the bond, or whatever the case is. And chairman and engineer, by 3 o'clock this afternoon, y'all gonna make a submission of a short list so we can get a contractor to finish this project. I will keep you on the job if you take your car and drive to the end of the road and come back. I'll wait right here and I'll keep you on the job. Take your car and drive and go in and come back out.
No, I can't drive on that road.
Well, then you can't keep the work. Because these people can't drive the car and go in and come back, and you're holding them up. If you drive your car and go down to the back and come back, you will finish the road. If you can't do it, then you can't stay on this job. I'm putting somebody else to do it. It's straightforward like that. We got to operate with principle. You got this job since August. This is now heading to August, and you're at 45%.
The situation was similar as it relates to the rehabilitation of a bridge connecting Zilot North to Tushin North as well as Forest Cross Street, Arakari. To address this delay, Ejel assured the residents that alternative measures will be implemented.
No, they had wood and sticks and so on in the asphalt. I saw it with my own eyes. So chairman, yes, and engineer, y'all come to me by 3 o'clock this afternoon with 5 contractors who are mobilized in the area and who got capacity and would have had the experience of doing work of a similar nature. And we will do a short list and we will get this project executed. As a ministry, we have to take responsibility for the inconvenience and the difficulty that you are facing. The intent was that we should have brought relief to you by building the road, because when we embark on a road project, it's to improve the lives of people. But to the contrary, it would appear that we have made life more difficult.
The government has adopted a zero.
All right. Here you go. To me, that's real leadership. That's real leadership. You take control of it You take the blame. Say, as a ministry, we were supposed to do this and we didn't do it. And I, as the leader of this ministry, I am going to take charge. So, folks, one more video, 8 o'clock. Here it is. Here we go.
Thinking Jamaicans should raise their voice in concert.
One Jamaica Legal Defense Foundation invites all Jamaicans and friends of Jamaica to raise our voices in protest against corruption, crime, poverty, failed health care, poor education, and more injustice taking place in Jamaica. This takes place on Friday, August the 30th, from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. And this takes place at the Jamaican Consulate at the corner of East 41st Street and 2nd Avenue in Manhattan, New York. Remember, all Jamaicans and all friends of Jamaica, come and raise your voices in protest against all injustices taking place in Jamaica. Let's all come out in support to make Jamaica a better place.
Gentlemen, I thank you all for being here. I wish you all the best for the rest of the weekend. Take care, be well. We'll talk soon.
You too, sir. Everybody take care.
Everybody take care. Blessings.
All right, guys, take care. Corporal James, speak up yourself.